It's great to see all of you. It actually took me by complete surprise, actually. The end of April just kind of showed up. It was, there was a time where it was hard to even know which actual day of the week it was, let alone what date of the month it was. And I remember mentioning to someone that I'm like, oh yeah, it's April 27th. And in that moment, the both of us had a moment of just really coming to terms with all that had come by in just the past few weeks. And it's interesting. We're at an interesting time where it feels like, wow, I can't believe it's already the end of April. And at the same time, there's also this feeling of so much is going on, so much is taking place. Like it's only April. It's only April. We've only been doing like in this space for a few weeks. So what has been evolving from that has been just an element to just put like a timestamp on this moment. Uh, it felt important to be able to take this and kind of just give ourselves a chance to say, here goes an opportunity that no matter how things have been for us, we can calibrate and decide how we want to be going forward. And today we are really going to do a retrospective on the past few weeks for ourselves. And the intent here is to give ourselves a chance to slow down, to see what has been, and use this time to intentionally look forward to what is coming next. By the time we leave here, you'll have a sense of direction as to where you want to go and what your next step will look like or could look like for you. And the idea here, more than anything else, is just to make sure that you get a chance to orient. You might find at the end of this conversation that you're headed in exactly the right direction and there's nothing that needs to change, but you're in a place where internally you're like, I got it, I know it, let's keep the path going. Or you might find that you at the end of this conversation and you're 90% there, and with the smallest tweak, you can bring yourself one step closer to what it is that really aligns for you. So we're going to take that time to to really honor that in this space. I ended up going through this retrospective myself. I had found myself at the end of April. There were some commitments that I had that were basically coming to a conclusion. Some of them being the way that we were meeting in community, and I was looking at it and saying to myself, "What's coming next?" And I realized that as much as I wanted to answer what's coming next, I couldn't. I had to first answer what's already happened. What's already happened? So these questions are directly coming from that experience. And then honestly, I started working on my retrospective about 5 days ago. And since that experience here, I have reconnected with so many different parts of myself that have allowed that are going to make the next month and the upcoming weeks that much more rich. But on top of that, there's an alignment in terms of how I'm showing up for myself that is going to continue to play itself out in the upcoming months and such to go. So that's the space that we're in. I want to honor both of you and acknowledge you, all of you who are for being here and taking the time to focus on this for yourself. Let me give you all a chance to just speak yourselves into this room so we can be here in this space together, right? We'll do a quick check-in here. Lisa, we'll start with you. And we'll just go ahead and say your name. I was going to say state your name. Say your name. And if you had just one word to describe how you are in this current moment, what would that word be?
My name is Elisa, and I feel grounded.
Awesome. Good to have you. And Monique?
Oh, there we go.
Here we
Press the buttons. I'm Monique. I go by she and her pronouns, and I feel excited.
Fantastic. So let's jump in for today. What I have for us here are a series of questions that I'm going to invite each of us to just take some time on our own to go through and answer. And then what we'll do is after we finish those questions, we'll come and we'll debrief and explore as we need to from there. Also, at the end of this year, coaching is one of the biggest gifts that I can bring to the table during this time. It's what helps us discover new paths. So we'll leave some space for that, as that might be appropriate as well. Okay. For now, let's get settled in here. I have the first of 5 questions for you. The first question is, what would you love to celebrate? What was awesome for you as to in the month of April? And you can use the time frame as whatever is important to you. It could be 2020, whatever it is. I would suggest using a consistent time frame. But what would you love to celebrate? Okay. All right, great. Make sure I'm ready for the next one here. Okay. I like the way that I phrase this in the retrospective questions. What do you need to simply stop doing for tomorrow to be better than yesterday? What would you love to stop? What do you need to simply stop doing for tomorrow to be better than yesterday? I invite you to answer that question in the short span, is literally for the day you just had and for tomorrow, and then also take a look over the longer period of time. Go ahead and take another 10 seconds on that. Okay. So even in the midst of the retrospective, we're going to also make sure that we're aligning that which we want with that which we've had. So the next question here, it seems like a future question, but it's actually an alignment question. What is the new normal or the new possibility that you stand for? What is your new normal? What is the new normal? And there's different answers to that question potentially. or the new possibility? What do you stand for? Another way of looking at this question, if it's helpful, is to imagine yourself 3 months, 6 months, a year down the line from here. How do you see yourself being? That actually represents a new normal that is in alignment with you. Another 5 seconds on this one. I feel myself wanting to move forward, but this is a really important question. So take your time with this here. This is our North Star. This is the answer to this question is something you can keep coming back to when things get even more turbulent, and even if the turbulence is a return back to normal, quote unquote. Okay. So take this North Star, take this new normal, the possibility that you stand for. And given that, what do you want to remain consistent for you? What is happening right now in your life? What's happening either in your life in particular or that you're seeing in your world that you would want to be consistent, that aligns with that new possibility and normal that you stand for? And in this exercise here, in this question here, we get the opportunity to actually see how much of our new normal already exists. And all we need to do is just maintain. Take a few minutes on this. And then this will be our last question here. What would you love to create more of? What would you love to create more of? It might be something that you already previously had, or something that you're making for the first time. But what would you love to create more of? How are you doing right now? Let me just get a quick check in. How you doing? Do you need more time here? Feeling good? Okay, awesome. So something came to me right now in this moment that I just thought might also be a little bit fun for us to look at this and give us a different way to look at all this. So we've done the retrospective in terms of these 5 questions here, right? We've taken time to see what's gone well, what we would like to stop. We've oriented ourselves with where we'd like to be, and then we've now gone back to our world and said, okay, looking at that, how like what will we need to remain consistent? What do we just need to continue? And then also giving ourselves the opportunity to say, what do we want to create more of? So I'm gonna just the thing that came to mind is this idea of if you were writing a book right now, right, and the book represented this entire experience for you, okay? There's four. I would love to give you a chance just to come up with um, just a short title, a short phrase, a short subtitle, like just a few quick words here that would capture that. Now I'm going to invite you to answer this in 4 different ways. One, what is the name of the book? Two, what's the subtitle? So the name of the book might be something that's catchy here, and the subtitle might be like, well, let me just make it real for me. Um, right now, the book that comes up is Trailblazers Unite! Exclamation point. Leading change by leveraging what makes you different to create new paths. Subtitle, right? So what's the name of the book? What's the subtitle of that book? When you have both of them, look up at me and I'll give you the next two. Awesome. So then, last 2 parts of this here are: what would the previous chapter, the chapter that just got done, what would that chapter title be called? And then on the other side of it, for this next chapter, what will that be called? All right. Okay, so let's come together here. Um, I'm take some time to synthesize all this here, and then now let's have a discussion. Let's have a discussion. We'll keep it to whatever would really um, support you at this time. I would say let's first go from the standpoint of just sharing some insights. Like let's be in a place of sharing, and then we'll come back and we can bring in coaching as we need to. But let's just first synthesize um, what this experience altogether. Um, let's just start off here. Um, if you had to synthesize for yourself, what's one insight that you've gotten? What's one insight that you had? It could have been something that an insight or a surprise. For some reason, that word just keeps coming up to my mind, you know? So either an insight or something that surprised you throughout this experience. Monique, would you like to start?
Okay, so the surprise was that like a few months ago, I was like, oh, I got to write a book, and it's about me and my story, and I was like, like that doesn't sit well with me. But then just recently, I just let it go, left it to rest, and then recently the title of this book like just came to my mind, and I was like, oh my gosh, it's like not about me. And so just like you saying like, imagine you're writing a book. I'm like, oh my gosh, I am writing a book. Like that was really cool for me.
Awesome. Awesome. What did you find from, tell me about some things that you found from your retrospective experience. What were some of the things that's shown for you?
Yeah, so for my retrospective experience, it was figuring out how to, yes, be worried about the future and like hold that fear, but not let go of faith at the same time. Like learning how to navigate both of them. And setting aside time for movement and for creativity. I think those things were really valuable for me for the past month. I think it just like helped pull me into a different way of being.
Awesome. And then why don't you tell us a bit about the book that you're writing, at least in terms of what you wrote down today, and then I think we'll leave some space to go and see what the book is all about.
Okay. So the title of the book is Belonging from the Inside Out. So the subtitle I just wrote, Changing the Trajectory of History, One Conversation at a Time. The chapter that just passed was Have a Little Faith, and then the next one's like Stepping into Your Courage.
Thank you, Monique. We'll build upon this in just a bit. Thank you.
Thank you.
Lisa, let's go on to you here. What was one thing that, one insight that you had, or one thing that surprised you, or you have time?
When you started, I literally was like pulling up my phone to look at my calendar. I was like, what happened in April?
Yeah. Yeah. It's been it's one of those type of months. I don't know, just that time even. Yeah.
Yeah. And I've been doing a lot of processing over and over. So I
Mm-hmm.
think what it didn't necessarily surprise me, but like what stood out for me today is the same stuff that has been standing out throughout the month. So that was like a nice confirmation.
Nice, nice. And I'm curious if you're interested in sharing what's been standing out for you.
Um, the overall, the idea, and I like the alignment question that you asked about the new normal, because I think that sums up everything. And one is I can create anything anytime. And then the other is I can come as fully me everywhere. And those have been, if I were to sum everything up, that it's like all this last month is data points leading up to that.
Fantastic. And share with us a bit here about that book. If you're going to write a book right now with this experience, uh, tell us a bit about that for you.
The title is called The Whack-A-Mole of Emotions. And the subtitle is How I Showed Up When I Wanted to and Even When I Didn't.
Awesome.
And then the previous chapter is Getting to My Wits End. And the next chapter is Bringing It All Together.
Awesome. Awesome. I want to just I want to acknowledge all of you right here. I want to acknowledge you, Monique. I want to acknowledge you, Elisa, for taking the time to do this here. Like when you said I had to go back and look at my calendar to see all that's done. I also know that you've been really active. There's been a lot that's been done, you know, in the actions, but also in your being. I want to make sure we give space for all of that here, because a lot of us, the reason that I choose to keep bringing us together is because I look at you and I see this is the future of our world. You are the leaders who are going to help determine what the history books say about our time here on earth. And to be able to be in that space with intentionality and at least like clearing up a bit more of the fogginess that might be ahead of us. I want to acknowledge you for choosing that and being in that space there. I could tell here because I came to this conversation and my agenda was the first thing on my agenda was create the space for a deep retrospective. And I can tell just with just being in this presence with all of you, just how much in alignment and in integrity this process is from the standpoint of making sure that you can move forward from there. So now let's look at this here. We've done some elements looking backwards. I would love to open this up to where we head from here. Right? I think the best way to do this here is to stay in the to stay now in the place of using this for where we want to go next. Right? I'd love to open this up to some coaching and allow for whatever needs to be served in this space. What I know is that I'm going to hide nothing and hold nothing back throughout this conversation. I know that I'm here to serve you and not please you. I'm also here to push some boundaries. I've been realizing this here. One of the big things that came out of this retrospective for me has been this this idea that I've been waiting for permission. I've been waiting to see what it is that people can handle. It's going to sound very interesting, especially because, I'll just say it. I've been holding space, a lot of holding space. And the way that I hold space keeps me actually in the reactive, responsive environment and just kind of waiting for something to happen. And I've been finding myself allowing more room for what it is that I do best. Turns out holding space is in my zone of excellence. I'm really, really good at holding space for people. And it is effortless for me to create space. In that space there, that's my zone of genius. And I have my own distinctions around what creating space versus holding space are. And for another time, we can go and build on that unless you're interested in it right now. But it's in that distinction that helps me see, oh, actually, no, we need that. Whatever we're feeling right here, feel it all, feel every single part of it. Let it just let it be felt. And let us also create some space to be with that. So that's my context for this part of the conversation, right? This let's make sure we keep let's leave space for possibility in this conversation. It doesn't need to be where we go, but let's leave space for it. All right. So with this here, I'm just gonna ask you a question, and then we'll come into this and see where we go from there. I'd like you to imagine yourself. Let's just go just 3 months into the future. I'd like you to see that here. What would need to happen for you over the next 3 months for you to feel happy, both personally and professionally? This is a question from a coach called Dan Sullivan. And if 3 months doesn't excite you enough, go 6. And if that doesn't excite you enough, or you can't see anything that's different from your future right now, go to a year. Okay, awesome. So we're going to play with this. I'm realizing in this moment that Dan, this some of these questions are coming from these last. Sorry, that last question comes from a coach. His name is Dan Sullivan, and it's basically called the Dan Sullivan question. So I don't like if there was a question to trademark, why not that one, right? Um, and what I want to do is actually, I'm like, we can use that as a tool to support us through here, all right? So, Lisa, why don't we start with you, right? Going out into your future and looking at that, I'm curious for you, not what the future is just yet for you. You can share it if you like, but as you're looking to create that, what are some of the dangers that you see, some risks that you see that might get that that may get in your way of being able to bring that future to life? And Monique, you can spend some time for yourself as well answering some of these questions here. We'll focus on Elisa and then we'll come to you afterwards.
Dangers getting in the way of seeing the future that I want.
Of bringing of creating the future that you want. So what are some of the risks? What are some of the potential obstacles or barriers?
New shiny things, new shiny ideas,
Mhm.
things that take me out of alignment but are fun and exciting. Yeah, probably a lot of that. I'm sure it's gonna happen too.
Yeah, yeah. This is part. I'm realizing what we're doing right now in real time. Intuitively, it felt like the right thing to do. But what we're doing right now is it's like a pre-retrospective, right? We're giving ourselves a chance to actually look ahead and do a retrospective, catch the retrospective that we might have just defaulted into, and actually give ourselves some space on it to navigate it potentially differently. Even now, Elisa, just calling out like the shiny object syndrome, you know, um, might give you a bit more opportunity to see it as it's coming and to just shorten the period between being out of choice and being in choice.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you choose, like actively choose to follow those shiny objects, then like that's completely different than subconsciously avoiding
Letting
something or
them come
subconscious.
to me, letting them
Exactly,
happen without even
exactly,
noticing.
exactly. I was thinking this morning here for myself. I was like, oh man, Zoom used to be something that was mine. No one else was doing that. Like, when I say mine, in the grand scheme
Yeah.
of like the world, like people came into Zoom, they're like, what is this? I'm like, welcome to the future. Now it's like welcome to the present, right? I'm like, oh, and my there's a part of me that just like loves to be different. I'm like, oh, everyone's on Zoom now. What's next, right? Um, there's another part of me that also came to a place of saying, I used to be on the cutting edge, and it just like, and now I just don't feel like I'm on the cutting edge. And I don't know what the cutting edge is. I'm like, virtual reality seems too far right now, but that's the only thing that comes to mind, so there's an element of this here where it's like with intention, potentially shiny objects could be really interesting.
Yeah.
I know that you are a vision producer. So to even just know how to like what tools are out there, what different people are doing, and to be able to help people create and stand out in this time could be really interesting if done intentionally.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. So now let's ask the next question here. Um, the next question is, what are your opportunities? Where are your opportunities for growth when it comes to this? Awesome. I'm choosing to see how to play this here. I think it might just be useful, Lisa, for us just to stay with you through this thread. There's two more. There's a question and one more, and then we'll come with Monique and we'll bring it all in. Right.
Okay.
In terms of opportunities, what showed up for you?
It's based on our like 3 seconds ago conversation. I thought, oh my gosh, what if I become the new and shiny and different thing?
Mm. And I know this is new, so there may not be more to it there. Actually, yeah, I'm actually going to. Well, let me ask you. There we go. This is it. Would it serve you to talk more about what that would mean to be the new and shiny and thing, like for you to be that? Or is it something that is just like such a fresh insight that you're like, I still need to let that percolate and go? So I want to just check in what would serve you right now
Yeah,
in this moment.
it would serve me to talk about it because I literally I put this on Instagram this morning. I did a vision casting session for myself
Mm-hmm.
and like
Yeah,
put like big white sheets of paper in my living room and was like, here's who I am and this is my business. And
absolutely.
I realized I need to take it to the next level.
Mm.
And because it looks, there's not enough of me in it. It's like all the things I can do. And I wrote little notes of like what makes me different or like what strengths I'm gonna, like here's a strategy session, but because it's with me, it's gonna be really fun and things like that. And I still need to go back. I want to do the whole thing over, like give it a once over with the me on it, like layer. And so I think, and what I'm creating a new category for myself, right? And so it's very easy for me to fall back into, well, it's a mix of coaching and marketing and like things that are familiar to people. Like I feel like I can, it's easier for me to explain what I'm doing when I have that. But what if I just explain it like and make everyone think kind of like the way Zoom came up? Everyone was like, what? This exists? This is awesome. Like my grandma's like, I can see you on the computer, like with our whole family. That's cool. And I don't think Zoom was ever like, okay, no one you have a conversation in person. Like, there was no explanation. It was just like, here it is. So I guess my challenge to myself is like, how do I just like be that new thing?
Awesome. Um, so I'm gonna ask you two questions here. One, what excites you about that? There's like what excites you about like envisioning Zoom as like this thing that was just like we're gonna just be our thing. What about that excites you?
Um, there's no responsibility for me to help other people get me. And probably through some marketing materials down the road that needs to happen, right? But like for this phase of my vision casting for myself, I don't need to worry about other people. And if like with thinking about new technology as an example, if other people experience it, they share it with their friends. And so if I can just get people to experience it, just like coaching, once you get it, you're like, oh, this is amazing.
Yeah. I don't know about you, Monique, but as soon as she said it, she's like, I just spent this day and I did my whole vision casting process. I don't know about you, but I got really really intrigued. I was like, I would love to have a vision casting. Like literally in my mind, I was like, so what does vision casting look like? If like, do I need to get my own wall? Like, is there a way to do this in Zoom? I have a couple different like devices. I can make a whiteboard on each of them, and I'm writing on my phone. I'm writing on my iPad. Whatever it is. But I got really intrigued. Monique, did any of that pique your curiosity as well? Yeah, yeah. Um, and so there's this element of like of I share that because I'm like, oh, I can already feel that I would love to have that experience, you know. And it wasn't hey, I'm doing this thing. It was just like, hey, I did this thing. This is the thing that I
Mm-hmm.
did, right? Um, awesome. Awesome, awesome. So tell us then a little bit more about about what would serve you, like in terms of being that shiny object for people.
I don't know.
Tell me more. Tell me more. Like you said it. You felt it. You said it would serve you to talk a little bit more about it. What else just
Yeah.
needs to come off your chest about this year? I get that you don't know. Literally, you're like 3 seconds ago, this idea came to me. So that's why I want to make sure we have space on it. And there was an element that would really serve you, and I want to make sure we don't lose that.
I think what just happened served me.
Okay. Okay. Awesome. I don't
I don't
even
even know
know.
what just happened.
I know it's interesting. It's interesting, and you'll have the recording. You can always go and watch this back. But I have a feeling that this is more about an internal nervous system experience, something that's just like there's something in that learned experience or lived experience there that is going to be more learned, and like that's why I was even asking and checking in with you, because I know some that with insights, oftentimes we're like, okay, what are you going to do with the next 5 steps? Sometimes we just need to let it breathe, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So I wanted to give you space. Different people have different things, and different insights hit us in different ways.
Yeah.
So I trust it. I trust that you got what you needed, and you're getting what you needed with that.
Yeah, definitely.
So then we have one more question along this line here, right? So we started out with looking out into the future, and we explored the dangers and risks and challenges that we may face. Then we explored the opportunities that may be there. Now let's go ahead and look at your strengths. So this tool is called the DOS set of questions, again from Dan Sullivan. And so now let's take a look at your strengths there and see what are some of the strengths that you have as it relates to how you want to feel in that upcoming time period, as it relates to what it is that you love to create. And I'm going to invite you to think about the strengths and assets and resources that you have right now, or that come immediately to mind. Then I'm going to ask you to then go a level deeper, go a bit further, take a uplifted stance. So basically, we went in all three directions. We're like, go down, go out, and go up. Take a real thing here and ask yourself, what's the strength that I haven't been given credit to? And that might be something that comes straight to your mind, or it might be something that like people say about you and you just kind of like ignore. You're like, got you, thank you, that's cute. Or it angers you, or it frustrates you, or it's the one that you can't receive, or it's the thing that makes you feel like you're lucky all the time. What's that strength? Or what are the strengths, I should say? Awesome. And so, Lisa, why don't we go and continue with you here? Um, tell us here a bit about those strengths, the things that came up for you here.
The first one that came up was answered your second question, and that is humor. And that's something that people in my circles are starting to notice a lot more. And it's interesting that as I'm more me, the funny side of me comes up more too. And it's very organic. So it's not like I tell jokes. And a lot of people, like the strength in my humor is that people aren't sure I'm trying to be funny. And they're like, I don't know if you know how funny that was, but that was really funny. And that, like, I want to capture and use. And that's the only one I want to talk about. The other ones, are like not as new and shiny.
Yeah.
I'll just continue with my theme.
Yeah. And and honestly, just knowing you, I hope there's a real genuine smile that come up there. The other ones aren't new and shiny. I mean, the word cool like always comes up. Like that's how I think about you, right? Just like, you
Thank
know,
you. I like that.
absolutely. Yeah. That's how I think about you. I'm like, okay. And I can see how like new and shiny can fit within that. And it's so and there's like I bet you there's gonna be a distinction that shows up as like, what's the cool new and shiny? You know, I think like for me, there's an element of like, Zoom's like now outdated. As awesome as
Yeah.
it is, it just became like one of these things where everyone has it. Okay, time for that new thing. Um, and one of the things I just want to call out here that I think is it would be easy to miss it if we just rode by. Uh, but was in finding the strength in your strength, right? Taking that two levels down. Okay, this is my strength, but what makes that so strong? It isn't just that I'm funny, ha ha. I tell great jokes, you know, or I'm able to put a spin on the mundane or speak truth to the mundane. No, your strength the strength in your humor is that people like aren't necessarily even sure. They're like, did you
Yeah.
realize that? Like, is that a did you? And the fact that you called that out there, I don't know how it's going to play out, but I do want to just note even just like that element of that double play there, and just how much like how even focusing it's like almost like saying what's of the 20%, 20% of the 20%, right? And so I want to just bring life to that. If in you're seeing that, it might give you some additional places to keep playing. Awesome, Elisa.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Elisa. I'm realizing I'm allowing myself to have way more fun. I don't know where I don't know where it went, but I'm a wacky dude, you know.
Well, earlier you were like doing your moves.
Oh
I saw
yes,
that.
yes, that is it. That keeps me both loose, and I can tell when I'm really having fun. I'm like, all right, what's gonna come out of here? All right, I'm ready. I'm flexible. I'm pliable. I'm ready for whatever comes next. Awesome. Awesome. So let's go, Monique. Like, would love just to hear from you on any insight that you've had throughout this conversation. I know that we both know here that like while curtains happening for someone, it's happening to all of us the same time, and there are different ways that we might play with it. So I'm really curious in this moment. What's one insight or one thing that's really stood out to you throughout any part of this conversation?
I think that like the whole thing about the Zoom being like, oh, now it's just basic, which I think is hilarious. I think it's like, for me, was simply how we have these like beautiful gifts that we share with the world on a daily basis, and there isn't enough acknowledgement for them. Like, they might be old, but they're still such a beautiful and unique part of who we are that they should get that recognition.
I was holding out to see. I was like, "Are you going to recognize them?" So if you so aha. Would you share the gift of acknowledging that and not just acknowledging it in one way like as we might normally do, but you've seen something here, right? You see the gift and the importance of this here. Can you please help us experience what really acknowledging these things looks and feels like?
Yeah, okay. So I guess I would want to bring them to the table. I have these gifts of kindness and compassion and courage and this like curiosity to like step into really hard conversations, and not always perfectly. So I want to acknowledge those things, because they take each other to build something. And the way that I like think of it in my mind is like, aspirin comes from willow bark, can be really harmful for your stomach lining, but willow bark in itself has a substance called mucilage, which like counteracts that and coats the belly. So like you need the whole piece of something to be in balance and to create something really useful and beautiful, right? So when I think of all those parts of myself, it's not one or the other that makes me special, but every one of those combined to be who I am.
I can feel something right now here. And what I'm just going to call out here is just, I felt you feeling yourself more as you continued here. There was a part that started out and it was just like, I guess I can put it on the table. And I was tempted to say something there. I was like, oh, we're not going to hear it. She's not going to, she's like still, she's not really owning it.
Oh, I was bringing them to the table. Sorry, I'm sitting at my table and I was like inviting them as guests. Yeah, that's what that was.
Guest. Oh, that's so rich. I'm like, okay, all right, awesome. I'm really glad I didn't say anything then, right? I'm glad I bit my tongue. Yeah, and I like, I just like seeing your like compassion and kindness. Like you're just like you're literally bringing them in. Like, and what so that actually gets me even like it's some I can feel some tingling in my chest. It's not embarrassment. It's not any of that. What it is like, wow, how rich that is. I asked you to acknowledge and give us not just what it looked like, but what it would like, give us a chance to feel it. And I'm feeling it right here. Just that element of even literally inviting them as guests to your table and leaving. And I mean, you are belonging in that moment. It was just like, it was, for me, it was just like this moment of like, it isn't like it's living your talk, not even walking it. It's just like breathing your talk. It doesn't rhyme, but it feels more powerful. Mm-hmm. And this picture of the willow bark there, it's like it's a really clear like I don't know the right words of when it's a metaphor or analogy or like, but it's I'm like I just make it up each time, and everyone's like, okay, that's a great simile. I don't know, but it was really, it's really really clear there. So let me just make sure I'm calling out here. You've invited kindness, compassion, courage, and curiosity to step into really hard conversations and not always have them be perfect. Mm-hmm. Right? Just want to make sure, like you were in flow, and I want to make sure we really capture that for you here. Awesome. I'm gonna take a breath in myself. Next, can we just all just collectively take one in right here? For me, that breath there represented being able to let this be enough. Mm-hmm. To let this be enough. I am always here for you to continue to grow on this here, and to continue to take these things to further states. But honestly, I just feel like we're like to be in integrity with this all here. We've taken time to look back and really get a picture of how things have been and how we have been throughout it. We've taken some time to calibrate. And then we've also taken some time to look out into our future and to call out different things about us that will continue to support us by finding the strength of our strengths and knowing that we can be that which we seek for others, and being able to also physically invite in the wonderful parts and acknowledge that. There's an element here that I want to acknowledge each of you on, that who you are being is in alignment with the things that you are doing. And that speaks so loudly here. I just want to make sure that I call that out because I see you, and that level of integrity allows me to also feel you. And as leaders, I really see and really just acknowledge you for that. We're going to wrap this up here in this last minute here with just letting us know how things are looking going forward. We just wrapped up April, and in my moving into May, in my retrospective for the month, I loved what we've done and how we've come out here together. I am really looking to bring in more community as it goes along. The way and shape of it looks like it might be changing. It's just what my heart is feeling like it might change in some way, shape, or form. Not in terms of would it be Zoom or whatever it is, but I almost want to just create a tighter container for us that have chosen to be in community to be in that space together. And so just know it's very funny with me. Things are going to look the same, but my intention is for them to feel even more powerful. All right. So look out for that. I'll let you know about some of the things. Actually, I'll call out what I'm doing right now. I'm putting together a 3-month program and now moving into membership and giving us a chance to really just say I'm in or I'm out. And honestly, I'm streamlining. I'm like, I just want to be in community and I want to be coaching. And so we're building a coaching community. We're doing this first program. I don't know what the name is going to be. Right now, it feels like it's going to be either a created world program or creating a different world program or creating your new normal program. But it's this element of being able to, as we're making these transitions, to not only have coaching, but to have other people who are out there doing amazing things that will inspire us, that will give us perspective, and will continue to actually make sure that as we're doing new things to get out there in the world, we have each other and we have a space that we can experiment and explore and so on and so forth. So that's really the what I'm consciously calling out into life here. And I almost let this moment go without actually speaking it into existence. But here it is. Here it is. So I'll send you more information about that. You'll get a chance to experience it quite soon. But I just want to say I acknowledge you. It's been really wonderful to serve in this capacity. And on your end, it may not feel like anything has changed at all. And for me, it's a whole different ballgame. All right. Cool. If you know anyone who you think should be a part of these conversations, can you please let me know or invite them to an upcoming conversation? This is the space that we're creating. This is the game that we're playing. We're going from there. All right, y'all. Let's end this conversation here. It's great seeing you. All right. Take care. Be well.
Thank you.
Yes, absolutely.
Thanks, Miana.
You got this, y'all. Bye.
Bye.